and go live there. We had several people who have been joining us on YouTube live while we've been meeting on Zoom. And I think this is kind of fun for, oh, look, there we are. Okay. It's really working. So let me do this official thing here. Good afternoon and welcome everybody. Welcome if you're watching us over there on YouTube, and welcome to you guys, the gentlemen who are here in the Virtual Pipe Club. Today is Saturday, June 27th. Is that right? Yes, June 27th. And this is the weekly meeting of the Virtual Pipe Club. And if you are watching over there on YouTube, join on in. I'll be watching over here on the comment section periodically, just in case you got some questions. Or if you just want to slip on over and jump into the Zoom meeting, please do. The membership dues are $1 million.
Very exclusive.
Yeah, and then we're all going on vacation. We're going to sneak tobacco into South Africa. That's where we're going to go.
Sounds like a good idea.
Sounds like a good idea. Yeah. If when the CIA is watching this, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah. So today we are going to have a guest speaker who is actually a member of our group. I'm watching to see if he's popped in yet or not. Trevor Thistle is a Canadian pipe carver who has had some amazing success. And then, I went back on his Facebook page and looked through some of the photos of the past couple of years of his pipes. Wow, beautiful. And so he's going to come in and talk to us today about, being a carver. Hopefully he'll have a chance to show us his workshop and go through all that. And just like when we had Jeff Gracek here, give him all your questions and pick his brain about anything you want to know and whatnot. And I think we'll have a good time. All right, that's my spiel. Should we do some housekeeping? I was working on the video for the pipe experiment I'm doing right now. How did we come up with the phrase housekeeping? Does anybody know? Is that a YouTube thing or a Facebook thing?
I guess it's a YouTube thing. So most of the people say, hey, let's get started with the housekeeping. What is a pipe? What is the tobacco? I'm drinking something. So I guess it's from YouTube. I don't know.
Maybe so. I'd never heard of it before. And I'm like, it should more rightly be called humble bragging, I think. Like, oh, it's nothing. This is my gigantic, fantastic pipe. Yeah. But it's, come on. This is my 17-year-old tin of aged tobacco, but it's nothing. Should be called humble bragging.
Well,
anyway,
I have something.
Yes, humble brag away. Go for it.
Well, I like to just show everybody. This is a Peterson Sherlock Holmes Milverton shape, and there's a really nice story behind this pipe. I belong to the Sherlock Holmes Pipe Club, and one of my friends in the club is always, we have a raffle every year. At the Christmas party, we always have 5 or 6 pipes, moderately priced pipes. And so one of my friend who does the pipe raffle sent me this pipe. I helped him pick it out, and I told him how much I'd like to shape in. I told him I would clean it up for him and get it ready for the raffle. So he sends it to me in the mail, and I'm assuming, oh, it's coming so I can clean it up and get it all ready for the raffle in December. And I get this really nice note from him saying that, he knows how much I'm into Peterson, and, he appreciates, what I've done for him. And he gave me the pipe as a gift, and he's going to pick out another Peterson for the raffle. So completely, totally unexpected and an amazing surprise. Friend of mine gifted me this wonderful Milverton Peterson Sherlock Holmes. It's a beautiful pipe. I've smoked already. It's wonderful, and it's just such a wonderful story. I'm like I said, I'm really into Peterson. I bought most of my pipes on my own, but I do have a few that were given to me or somehow given to me by friends. Those pipes in the collection just stand out as being a little more special than some of the other ones that I bought myself. So just a wonderful story from this week. Complete surprise.
Tim, this is one of the things I continually am impressed with in the pipe community. Like, there's so much good heart, there's so much generosity, and just camaraderie. It doesn't surprise me at all, but that is a great story. And it's a great pipe too, man.
Well, that too. But I mean, the gesture is, for me, the gesture was the big thing. But I agree with you, David. I think that, I find people are very welcoming and generous and willing to share and willing to trade and, give things away. I mean, yeah, it's just a pretty, I like the camaraderie of all pipe smokers. Something.
Yeah, it's really, I belong to several other kinds of groups, and I run companies on basically the internet, and by far, and surprisingly, but by far and away, head and shoulders, the pipe smoking community is like the nicest, most easygoing, whatever kind of friendly community. It's great.
That's what pipe smoking is all about.
I think so. Dimitri, what are you smoking this week?
Okay, I have this bamboo pipe made in Thailand. You see, bowl made out of bamboo. And I'm smoking my blend 414, which was actually my first blend, which I made together with Chris McGrath. It's McClellan 5120 Fragrant Virginia, Cornel and Deal Izmir, Cornel and Deal Lataki, and Cornel and Deal Granulated Perique. And I'm drinking this Brugal 1888 Doblemento Añejado, double-aged rum, first aged in American bourbon cask and then in Spanish Harris cask.
Nice. We'll see how well Dimitri really embraces the principle of sipping today.
And also I have with me this beautiful Savinelli Church Warden.
I love those too. I got a new church warden this week myself. I'll go get it. I'll let somebody else come up and talk about what they're smoking. Who else has got a? Yeah, Oliver, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I'm smoking my Davorine mortar. It's a nice pipe, I would say. Nice grain.
That's
and
beautiful.
This is fantastic. This ring is made of bone. It's crazy.
I love that grain on your mortar pipe.
Oh yeah, it's started with light brown and goes to black. It's crazy. Oh, I love this thing, and it's 9 mil, and I'm a 9 mil fan, so I'm totally excited with this pipe. So, and in it, my favorite for now is Escudo. Someone on YouTube said, "Hey, you have to try Escudo. It's my favorite," and I tried it. I started with 1 tin, and now I have 5 or 6. Just in case. Good stuff. So drinking a little glass of vodka, so it's okay.
Awesome.
No, it's not. It's lemonade. So
it's lemonade.
All good. All good.
So I have not spent too much. I have 3 mortar pipes, and I don't smoke any of them until this week. And I smoked one of my mortars very seriously because I'm doing this video for the channel, and I'm now in love with mortar pipes. I'm gonna definitely have to get more mortars because I got the most unique of all the different kinds of smoking experiences I've had on a pipe is the mortar.
Yeah, and you can smoke it the whole day, so you have no issues with moisture and no ghosting. So it's like a Meerschaum. It's perfect. It's a perfect pipe. It's a perfect
Yeah.
material for
I find
pipes.
that mortar smokes more like meerschaum than like briar. It's something in between, but closer to meerschaum.
Excellent. Exactly.
Awesome. Groovy.
How
Who else?
fragile are they?
Somebody else have a pipe and leaf that they want to share with us? Yeah, Bill.
Okay, I'm smoking Firestorm and another McClary pipe. I went wild and got 3 more of his pipes off of eBay. They're just really fine smokers. Not advertising for them, just enjoying the heck out of them.
And what are you smoking today?
Firestorm, Russ Ouellette's Firestorm.
Oh, I do not know that.
He told me to try it again and see if I could get the cinnamon taste, because I didn't get any cinnamon out of it, but this morning I got a little whiff of cinnamon out of it. So, okay, it's there. My taste buds for tobacco are just not well developed yet.
I hear you. I feel the same. Well, that's cool. Awesome. Let me show you the church warden that I got this week. This is a Stanwell Hans Christian Andersen pipe.
It's very cool. How long is this? At least 14-inch, I guess.
Well, that's what I tell my wife. So I wait, is this going to YouTube? Wait a minute. So yeah, it's a maybe 11, 12 inches, maybe. I don't think it's quite 14. Well, maybe if it was all straight, it might be, but smoke's terrific. And it has, I think, the nicest feel of all the church wardens I have. And it came with a either or mode.
Why you bought a church warden? So you was inspired from the club, maybe?
To be honest with you, back when I first re-picked up the pipe, I thought I wonder if Hans Christian Andersen smoked a pipe, because I was thinking about telling stories about pipes. I'm like, I don't know. One led to the other. And so then I looked it up online and I'm like, oh, well, yes, Stanwell has a whole series called Hans Christian Andersen pipes. And I'm like, I would love to have some of those, or maybe the whole series. And so I just sort of had it in the back of my mind. And when I saw it come up for sale, I immediately said, I've got to get one.
Good.
And I'm surprised at how much I like it. I've had a couple of pipes. Anybody else jump in on this? I know that there's been a couple of pipes that I bought because I had an idea to be a cool pipe. And when I got it, I was like, oh, this is a dud.
You followed my story yesterday with my church warden experiment in the club in Facebook.
No.
I restarted to smoke a church warden after, I would say, more than a year yesterday, and had 2 bolts in it. It's a 14-inch briarwood church warden, and it was so cool.
Well, maybe we'll make this official church warden week. Super.
Well, of one.
Yes. Where are you?
See me?
Yeah, there you go. Hi, Boris. Is that Boris?
Trevor.
No, it's
Trevor Thistle.
there you are. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, let me introduce to you our guest speaker of this week, Trevor Thistle, who is the genius behind Thistle Pipes. And
Sorry, I'm having interrupted, which is going to happen.
okay,
I have 3 kids here, so
that's all right. So Trevor's going to talk to us about the art of being a carver, and interesting. All of the other pipe makers that we've had on so far have been full-time, professional, all the way in career pipe makers. And currently, Trevor's working this part-time, he tells me, and so that might be an interesting take on. And yet he's not a mere hobbyist like some of us. But doing this seriously and making some serious pieces of art. So it might be an interesting kind of middle ground from what we've experienced so far. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Trevor and say, tell us your life story, and we'll go from there.
My life story. Oh Jesus. Get your Kleenex out. No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm Trevor Thistle. Born in Labrador, Labrador City, Newfoundland, little town of about 8,000 people. And I left there in 97 to pursue my education. Spent 8 years in college and university. I guess I should be a brain surgeon or something, or a lawyer, or something more impressive than what I am, but it's okay. So my full-time gig is I'm an urban forester for the city of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and my role is to try to keep old trees alive through construction. So every year we kind of rebuild. The city of Edmonton rebuilds 9 to 11 neighborhoods, so new streets, sidewalks, curbs, and trying to do this while keeping boulevard trees alive is hard. So that's me. That's my bread and butter. But I supplement my income with these, making pipes. And I started in around 2013. So by a lot of the more established pipe makers, I'm still wet behind the ears. So I try to learn from them and come up with a lot of my own styles. I've been praised and criticized because a lot of what I do is sometimes a little unorthodox, but I truly look at this as art, and I guess my whole life I've always never really conformed to what everybody says art should be. So I've been criticized for my proportions. I don't care. So there's been times in the past where I put up a new pipe and I get some criticism about, that stem is too long, or the stem is too short, or the shank diameter is wrong for that stem. And I'm usually like, no, the pipe turned out exactly as I imagined it, so it's perfect. Yes, dear. Okay, baby, I'm busy right now, okay? I'll have to get back to you in a minute, all right? 3 kids. And
That's okay. We're a kid-friendly zone. Anytime you need to
Yeah.
like run off and go save somebody from catching on fire, just don't hesitate.
Yeah. So when I started back in 2013-ish, I really had no idea what I was doing. My wife gave me my first pipe, a little Stanwell Lavat. And I've dabbled in cigars up until then. And she gave it to me. I looked it over and I said, "What did you pay for that?" She said, "It was about $80." I said, "Well, hell, I could do that." And completely underestimating the art, the craft, by saying that, not knowing what I didn't know. So I just started with some wood that I found around here. So I'm in the arboriculture industry. I have friends who at the time would drop me odd things, some pear, some crabapple, some maple. And I quickly learned why you don't make pipes out of that stuff. And so I started asking some of the more established pipe makers, where their suppliers are, or how they get their stuff. And I got hooked up with Vermont Freehand. And I have a supplier in Algeria too that sends me some stuff from time to time. And I got into it with this lathe. Put my camera around here. This is what I started with. Right, just a Delta wood lathe, and I've made some real atrocities on this. But my skill quickly came along. I have a couple other pipe makers that are in the pipe club that I'm in. So the Edmonton Pipe and Cigar Club, right there. They give me some pointers. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Ian Barnes. but he's a fantastic pipe maker who also just lives about 10 minutes from me here. He makes my stuff look like a kindergarten project. And also Cody Perkins, another pipe maker. He's taken a step back to focus on his career. But yeah, started on that little wood lathe. Let me flip this around again. Upgraded this guy to CraftX CX706 machinist lathe. Right. You know, these lathes are great for precision, but they definitely have their drawbacks as well. It's hard to do freehand turning on a machinist lathe. Hard to do it safely. So there are times when I will still do some stuff on the wood lathe, but all my drilling is done on my machinist lathe, which makes it very, I'm shaking like hell here. Makes it very precise. Anything that I'm turning that's perfectly cylindrical, it makes that fast. And I could do the same thing on the wood lathe, but with twice the time. So yeah, you guys, so we have some makers here.
I think there's a couple of us who have shared that they are doing something.
A hobbyist.
Hobbyist. So do you guys use the same kind of chuck setup here? Pipe chuck?
I do. I have a set of Vermont freehand jaws that I got secondhand. Well,
Oh,
he said they were secondhand. They look brand new to me.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, you put do I need to walk you through the process, or do you guys already, am I preaching to the choir here?
Walk us through the process anyway. I'm a fairly
Yeah.
new hobbyist. I only started doing this really last November, and I can honestly say I've probably only made 2 pipes that were really good pipes.
Okay.
And still, by your standards, doing it as long as you have, they're probably still, as you would put it, kindergarten projects.
I think
Yeah.
we'd love to see your
Maybe-
process there,
Yes.
Trevor. Yeah, it would be nice to.
So I start with a block, like we all do. Here's some Memo. When I'm thinking out a pipe, sometimes I'll draw a design and look for the block for it in my collection here, where the grain goes the right direction and all that fun stuff, right? I try to keep the grain direction in line with the bowl. And I also try my best to have the grain going as longitudinally as possible with the shank, right? I have a degree in forestry. Part of that was wood technology. And you don't need to be a scientist to know that anything you build that's got the grain going perpendicular to the longest side is going to be weak. It's going to snap. And I've learned that by breaking a couple pipes off in my pocket, which you shouldn't put a pipe in your pocket anyway. I know. But I like to try to keep the grain parallel with the shank direction because it makes it stronger. And for the aesthetics, I like to keep it going, parallel with the bowl as well. That's if I'm doing a traditional pipe. If I plan on doing something rusticated, and some pipe makers out there will only, use their low end blocks for rustication. Sometimes with me, it's whatever fits my design. If I'm going to do a large magnum, then this nice block is the only block I have good enough, like to the size I need. I don't, even if the grain is nice, if I've got my mind on a rusticated pipe, that's what it's going to be. So that's, I guess that's part of my technique that might go against convention. So I like to square up my blocks, make everything 90 degrees, and draw what I want to do on the block. Or sometimes I'll draw it on paper and glue it onto the block and just mark the lines around it. Where, let's just say, Get a pencil here. You know, chamber hole, draft hole, right? Just is really rough here, guys. Sorry. And you try to make a mirror image on the other side of the block and draw your draft holes and your chamber holes. This is just if you're doing this a regular billiard. I like to take a Phillips screwdriver or a punch or something, make a dimple where the draft hole and the chamber hole intersect, and make a dimple at the top of the chamber in the center of the mortise. And those are my pivot points that I'll be using on the chuck, the briar chuck. A lot of pipes that I make, they have only a couple of, sorry guys, my camera skills are not that great here. You know, you could turn, sometimes all you can turn on the lathe is the face of the bowl and the face of the mortise, and everything else has contours and shapes that you can't do on a lathe. This is what I'm working on right now. It's going to be a thistle shaped pipe, but yeah, you can see that the majority of this is not on the lathe. It's a lot of handwork. Yeah, thistle shaped with the caribou or deer antler on there, reverse tenon. I use some other materials for decorative banding. Sometimes I'll make stands for them. Some deer antler, some zebra wood. This is just a small sample of what I have here. Padulac. That was babinga and walnut, claro walnut. So has anybody been experimenting with non-traditional woods?
Not yet.
No. Yeah, you know,
Well,
if I had my time back, I just would have went straight, listened to people and went straight to the traditional woods instead of you know, wasting my time with some of the other inferior blocks. Just to, you know, these are pipes I made for myself that end up burning through or whatever. I would have liked to have had a better experience in my first few pipes if I just had the right material. But at the time, I thought I was the only pipe maker in Edmonton, and I found two other guys, and it would have been nice to know they were closer at hand. Tools. I don't use expensive spoon bits. You know, some of those running $100 each. And you know, I'm a single income father of 3. And I'm not a single father. I have a wife, but yeah, me spending $100 on a bit, it would probably get me in the doghouse. So here's my bit rack. So yeah, common sizes for draft holes, 5/32, for the mortise, 5/16. And these are the spoon bits that I've made out of spade bits. So 7/8. And I always start the chamber, whatever size chamber I choose, I start it with a Forstner bit, right? And I'll go as deep in the bore with the Forstner bit as the straight sides of the spade bit. And you know, because it's impossible to get a perfectly symmetrical spade bit by hand. So pre-drilling with the Forstner bit allows you to establish walls that guide the bit, the spade bit, and it takes that possible chatter out from the blade being or the spade bit being asymmetrical. So I'll show you my whole setup here. So my wood lathe became my buffing system after I didn't need it anymore for turning. The machinist lathe, and I set up a downdraft table. This is an old drafting table that I put some holes in and made a bit of a vacuum scoop system here that hooks into my dust collector. Dremel hanging from the ceiling with all my bits. Maybe one day I'll invest in a Fordham. But yeah, that's the shop. What I need now is a sandblasting cabinet, but I borrow a buddy's. You know, I give him a cigar every now and then. He's cool. Sorry. What I'm smoking today, because we did get on the subject, is one of my own pipes. This is a Morta that I did. I machined the brass myself too.
I was admiring that when you were first chatting with us, man. That is very fancy. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of these, sometimes you make a pipe and you're like, man, this is awesome. I'm not gonna be able to keep this, right? This is gonna take off in no time. And it sat and sat and sat. I'm like, what? This is great. How come nobody wants it? I think the key in the back kind of threw people. But yeah, so I gave it to myself for my birthday one year. I figured no one else is gonna appreciate it the way I do. So oh yeah, back to materials. I'm sorry, I'm a bit scattered. This is where I keep my rod. Right, so I've got here's some Cumberland, a little bit of clear acrylic. Make some interesting stems sometimes. I'm not a stickler to any one type of stem material. I like to try lots of different things. Oh, my battery's low. Yeah, I buy brass from a metal supply shop here in Edmonton. Metal supermarkets. Sorry, one sec. So I buy brass rod, and for really cheap actually. And I make tampers as well. The banding on my pipes I do out of that. Little spigots and things like that's on here, and caps. I do all on my own. I'm pretty proud that even like the hardware that's on my pipes, when it does have some, it comes from me. I don't source any of that stuff anywhere else. Even the bags for my pipes, my wife makes. So if I could, I'd make my own acrylic.
Speaking of materials, we do have a question. John Coteau can't get his camera to work right now, so he's putting up a couple questions. He says, have you ever experimented with yak horn as a decorative handle? He has some access to some and always thought about incorporating it into a pipe. Yeah.
I have buffalo horn. So that's like water buffalo. I think it comes from India and Sri Lanka and places like that. For stuff I bought from Steve Norris at Vermont Freehand. A couple I've ordered straight from Asia. But yeah, usually no yak horn. I've done deer antler and buffalo horn, but I imagine it would be similar. Buffalo and yak horn, I guess, would be similar to work with, I would imagine. Yeah.
Well, now you know somebody who's got some.
Yeah. Oh, is he a supplier?
I don't know. I think John was just saying, John, you should just toss this into the chat there, brother. Otherwise, I'm going to make up a story for you and tell Trevor something completely untrue,
So yeah, I do make a lot of traditional pipes, and sometimes I do get the inkling to be a perfectionist and make what the pipe community says is a proper billiard or proper Rhodesian or whatever. But I think it's far more important for my own satisfaction, and that's the main reason I'm doing this, is to be able to sit down with a sketch pad, think up what comes up in my mind, throw away the calipers and just create without a rule book. And that's the way I like to, and like it's gotten me some flack, and that's fine.
Did you have a woodworking background before you started making pipes?
No, I always tinkered, right? I dabbled in some live edge furniture and stuff, and but I've always had a real appreciation for wood. Right, it's in the family. My great grandfather was a cooper. He made barrels, and my dad was always handy with a hammer and nail and saws. Yeah, I come from a culture where people didn't hire people to do things for them. In Newfoundland, you built your own house, right? And to share a story from my childhood is we were out on my patio in Labrador, and my dad put his foot through the patio. He said, "Oh, needs a new deck." I'm kind of speaking in Newfie slang here now, if you're familiar with that at all. Needs a new deck. He looks over and the fence is falling down. Needs a new fence. And he looked over at a bare spot in the backyard and he said, needs a garage. So for a whole winter, we were cutting trees in the woods, in the forest of Labrador, and sledding them out on skidoos and snowmobiles to a mill to cut it, and we stack it in the backyard and wait 2 years for it to season. And then me and my brother and my dad built a garage, a fence, and a patio that year. And so I guess I've always had an interest in being self-sufficient, and like woodworking was part of that. Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of questions. John wants to see if he can connect with you and whatnot. Where is the best place for people to reach you?
Thistle Pipes on Facebook, or Trevor Thistle. I'm also on Facebook there.
But you're not Trevor Thistle, the tennis champ.
No, I never heard of that guy.
You're the other Trevor Thistle. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the famous one.
You're the famous one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of running the blank here now.
That's awesome. Do you have any of the samples of your pipes that you got laying around, maybe that you could share with us?
Yeah. There's a few here that are my kind of shop smokers. A lot of my, I don't have anything.
Hey, Trevor, hold on one second.
Yep.
Hold on one second. I apologize for interrupting you. I just wanted to say, I know most of the guys who've been here for a while now, I've given this spiel about how to use Zoom, but if you're new to Zoom, and there's a couple things you can do here. You can always, if you're on a laptop or desktop, you mouse over the picture of the person who is speaking. That if you want to watch Trevor's pipes a little bit more zoomed in, and you can say under the 3-dot menu, it'll say pin video, and that'll make him big.
Oh, okay.
Then if you want to get out of that, up in the upper right-hand corner, there is a little grid, and that just means the display view here, the gallery view. If you're on a mobile phone, laptop, or a phone or a tablet, Zoom has a finger swipe, so you can finger swipe through.
Gotcha.
To see how many, different numbers and who else is here and whatnot. Anyway, that was just a quick one because if Trevor's going to show us off his pipe samples, I think some of you might want to see him closer.
Look at this. There's a bunch of us here now that I'm swiping through here.
Yeah, it's not just you and me, bro. It's
oh no, the pressure. Oh, the pressure. Okay, I'm going to show you some of the ones that are my shop pipes. So there are, every now and then I make a reject, something that I'm not even happy selling, and it becomes a shop pipe. My pipes sell pretty quickly, so I don't have anything available to show that's new and available for sale right now. Did anybody know Carl Miller? He's a member of a few pipe groups, and he passed away about 3 years ago. And me and Carl became really good friends. You know, as close, as friendly as you can be over social media, I suppose. Anyway, I made him this pipe for Christmas 3 years ago, and he died before I could send it. So sometimes pipes are contemplative, you know. So I kept that pipe to smoke it and remember Carl. And I kind of have similar feelings for estate pipes, you know, the dead man's pipes. I like buying those, especially if they're old, 100 years old or whatever. And you can imagine who smoked it and the history of it. And I don't know if anybody here has some old pipes, but I kind of went off on a tangent there. Hey, baby. Okay, go away. Yeah, this is a pipe I made, and the mortise was off center, so I kept it. And this is one I made and gifted myself to. And because sometimes you make some weird stuff. Sometimes your mind just demands you to make things that are not traditional. And yeah, I had this on up for sale for a couple months and no one bid on it, which I was really surprised by. And so I kept it. So yeah, here's 4 that I have made. You can go on Thistle Pipes and look at the gallery of the things I have made and the types of work that I do. Yeah, materials, briar and acrylic, and a little piece of 357 brass, 357 Magnum. And there's some buffalo horn in there with some Cumberland ebonite, and yeah, morta, brass, and acrylic.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
fellas, if you have any questions for Trevor, let's unload them and don't be shy. You guys are never shy when we're just chilling and chatting, and then we have a speaker and everybody like. So don't be shy.
I have a question.
Sure.
What do you like better, ebonite or acrylic for the stem, and why?
Ebonite is I like it. It's a hard question to answer because I really do love the aesthetics of the acrylic and the the glossiness of it, the almost endless choice of colors and patterns. But it is harder to work with. I learned the hard way to drill it slow. When I first started, I snapped off bits in pieces of acrylic all the time because I was impatient. So, you know, with ebonite and Cumberland, you really can't work the material too fast. And
because it's too soft, right?
it's softer, yeah. But with acrylic, you got to be careful. Take your time, small cuts. So acrylic's more time consuming, but I often enjoy the end product more.
And you have no issues with oxidation, right?
No issues with oxidation. Yeah, it stays as pristine as the day you made it. You're right. Yeah. Easier maintenance because of that. You don't get that bitter sulfur taste from an oxidized stem. It stands up to your teeth a bit better. However, it's it's harder on the teeth. I really haven't noticed smoking the pipes. I haven't noticed a huge difference in comfort from one to the other. But yeah, that's my take on it. And a lot of it seems like acrylic is becoming more accepted now. When I first started, I had other pipe makers telling me you'll never be a serious pipe maker unless you switch all to ebonite. I reject that. I don't believe that's true. I think it's too limiting. I see it as art first, and it's kind of like telling a painter that you can only use certain colors.
Oh, I have another question. Did you ever try a mouthpiece with a P-lip?
Yeah, I have a Peterson. Did I ever try to make one, you mean?
Yes.
No, I have never tried to make one because I can't stand them. I have a Pete with a P lip, and I, for the life of me, I'm trying to understand the logic of that invention. I understand it's supposed to redirect smoke away from your tongue to lessen bite. I haven't found any difference.
By the way, guys, that's the hashtag of the week. I have a peeve with a P lip.
Pete with a P
Right
lip.
here. It's perfect.
A P lip.
It's a recommendation of my doctor. I have to smoke with a P-lip when I have tongue burn. That's okay.
Just to keep it off your tongue? Is that the? Yeah.
No, my doctor said if you have some tongue burn, you have to smoke with a P-lip. It's better for you. That's what my doctor said.
Yeah, you know what? I listen to your doctor.
Of course.
Right? Yeah, I'm no expert in
Laying
these
up
things.
here on the top, looks like he's making his bed.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for not getting us into trouble over there.
Hilarious.
Always listen to your
Hell
doctor.
with your doctor. Do it this way.
Surely they
Just
must-
talking
You know,
about
if
the
I'd
doctor.
listened to my doctor, I wouldn't be smoking a pipe.
literally making
I don't know. You know,
his headphones on.
you guys, who gets flack for smoking a pipe when you're out in public or whatever? Rarely I get mostly I get compliments, but every now and then you see someone giving you a dirty look, right?
I get complimented all the time.
Yeah, and you know what? Life is about risks, right? You can live your life squeaky clean and die a bitter old bastard, or you can have a bit of fun and have enjoy a few vices. You know, some people like to jump out of airplanes. That's their risk. I smoke a pipe or a cigar. That's the way I look at it.
That's my goal in life, is to grow up to be a bitter old bastard. I think I wrote that in my journal not too long ago. So.
Bitter old bastard.
Yeah, there's a good joke about it. 8-year-old man comes to doctor and asks, "Doctor, am I going to live until I'm 100?" And doctor asks, "Do you smoke?" He says, "No." "Do you drink?" "No." "Do you have sex?" "No." And doctor says, "Why do you want to live another 40 years?"
No.
We had a member of our pipe club years back. He finally died from smoking. Well, he was 95. He smoked the pipes, cigarettes, and cigars, and inhaled all of them, and finally got him. But he made it to 95. So hey, I'll take the risk.
That's fine. Yeah, you know what? I've yet, and I know a lot of pipe smokers all over the world. I've yet, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never heard of one dying from a pipe smoking related cancer.
Neither
Or-
have I.
Right? That's not to say it can't happen. But you know what? Half the stuff that we eat these days is killing us.
Yeah.
You know, preservatives in our food, and
Lost
You
both
know?
my grandparents to lung cancer, and even though they were lifelong smokers, the oncologist that treated them said it was probably not their smoking that caused it. It was more genetic.
yeah. My dad was a lifelong smoker, and he died at 59 of lung cancer. But you know, I'm convinced that if he had smoked a pipe, he'd still be here. And that might be wishful thinking. I don't know. Maybe a way of justifying my own hobby. So be it. But yeah, it's a part of my identity now.
Can I circle back to materials for a minute?
Yep.
I have a block that is very clearly cut by the cutter to use it one way. And I was laying it out last night, and I spent a good hour laying bent egg out on it because it was in good shape for that. And then I happened to spray it with water to see where the grain was, and the grain is on the side. Have you ever turned a block on its side because of the grain?
Yeah. I wouldn't be concerned at all. If you can make a pipe out of that block in the grain orientation that you want, do whatever you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah. It's your art.
But it's a plenty large enough block. I was just curious if it's something that you do or
Yeah, it, sometimes if I'm doing a squat tomato or something, if I'm doing something with a compact size, but I want the width, I'll flip the block on its side to a orientation that it was not, the cutter never had envisioned.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the sky's the limit. And that may not be the proper answer by some pipe maker standards, but it's mine.
I have found in the short time I've been in this hobby, if you line up 10 pipe makers and ask them the same question, you'll get 10 different answers.
Yep. Yeah, it's based on their, it's based on experience.
Yeah, from 10 pipe makers, you can get 20 different answers.
You want to see a fight? Put a handful of pipe makers in one room, throw in a scrap of paper with a topic on it, and lock the door.
I heard that Yaskonovitz liked cross-grain pipes, like to make cross-grain pipes.
Yeah, if you're looking to get that, sometimes, especially if you're making like blowfish, right? Where you want that grain to show up on the side of that, whatever, I almost think blowfish are made to showcase grain.
Yeah, I have a sort of a weird version of a blowfish here.
Wow.
And you can see that it's well, maybe you can see, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, that it is a cross grain there. You see a little bit better on this.
I'm trying to find you here. I'm flipping through.
I'll just keep talking, and eventually somebody will get bored. And
there you are. Okay, I see you.
Yeah, so this is made by Abdul Karim, by the way, who's one of our members. He shows up every once in a while. He's in Malaysia, so he's asleep right now, God willing. But every once in a while, he makes, just like you're saying, really off the wall pipes. I saw this one, and it's like a sea monster.
Yeah.
So, but the point I was trying to make is that he did cut this with a cross grain.
Yep.
So it's right there.
Yeah, and I find whatever side of the pipe that I want to exhibit the most bird's eye, right? And that's where I'll determine the orientation of the grain. Look for a pipe specific, or look for a block in my collection specifically for that, right? I want to have this really nice dome on one side of this blowfish, and I want it to be like a display of bird's eye. If I can find the right block. So bird's eye is always what most pipe makers, when we were doing smooth pipes, we're looking for bird's eye. And if you can come up with a design and a block combination that uncovers that, those things sell.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I thought somebody else had a question, and then sort of.
I have a question, one. If you
Yeah,
can
Nick,
have
go
some-
ahead.
Well, as a part of a briar, have you ever think to use olive wood?
Yeah, I do. This is olive here. Yeah, I do use olive wood. I've made a few olive pipes. Right? It's olive wood. I love olive wood. I find it cuts really nice.
Too,
Really
me too.
smooth. Well, sorry?
Sorry, me too.
Yeah, it's a very smooth cutting. It's kind of fragrant. I like the smell of it when I'm working with it. It's hard. I think my only problems I've had with olive wood from time to time is I get a block from Steve at Vermont Freehand, and I know that when I got the shipment, there were no cracks in the wood. And if it sits for a couple months in my shop without being worked, olive seems to crack. I think it's got something to do with the air humidity. Right? I've never had that issue with briar. It comes to me pretty stable. But I find olive from time to time, between the time I receive the blocks and the time I work with them, sometimes they develop cracks. And one of the things I like to do, if I get a crack that's just an aesthetic issue, or a flaw, like in briar, a sand pit or whatever, I don't like to hide those. I don't like to do fills. I'll do something to accentuate it. So you'll see, if you look through my collection, you'll see an olive wood egg with a brass bow tie or butterfly on the side of it, spanning a crack. And like, I honestly believe that I can't make something more beautiful than nature can. So why not use what she gives me? And so cracks, sand pits, if it's not a critical flaw, I will continue making it. I don't try to hide it. I've done a couple of pipes in the past that had a sand pit so bad in the shank that I knew it was going to be structural. So what I did is I just lined the shank with stainless steel and left that flaw. I think it looks amazing. And it might get me a little less money, but I love that. I love rustic, you know. And I don't think we need to be as hard on flaws in briar as we are.
We have some Greek pipe makers, the freehand
Yeah.
style. They always don't try to change the cracks.
Yeah.
It's marvelous how exactly how you said it. It's marvelous how the nature try, and we just leave it like that. They just
Yeah.
leave it like that.
So I'm gonna go for a
I
spool here.
like the olive wood. I don't know if you have ever smoked with olive wood.
Yep.
I'm fan of Virginia, vanilla, and Latakia. And I believe that the olive wood is especially for Latakia because it's make it more tasteful, to be
Yeah.
true. I don't know if you have ever tried it.
Hopefully I don't distract the conversation too much, Nicholas, but I really love your background area, that tree and stuff behind you.
Just a second, guys. Apologize. I gotta go find a charger.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah.
I wonder, I don't know if anybody has a thought on this, but what Nick just said about Latakia being more flavorful inside of olive wood, you know, the climate where those Orientals are grown might be more compatible with the kind of wood that is grown there. I don't know if that makes sense. If the olive wood.
I don't know. I find I like the taste of a new olive wood pipe. I find anytime you first smoke a wooden pipe, you get a bit of wood smoke with it. Or a little bit, right? And I find the taste of olive wood when you're breaking it in more pleasurable than briar. But that's just my opinion. Does anybody here work with Morta much?
I want to, but it's too expensive for me right now. I'm
Yeah.
working with an old Craftsman's wood lathe. That's all I've got for power tools. That and a
Yeah.
drill press.
Yeah, and when you're working with Morta, Morta can be a bit difficult because it's oak. Oak likes to tear out. Even when you got fresh oak, it likes to splinter and tear out. So when you're turning Morta, you have to have very sharp tools and take very small cuts, or you're going to end up whole with little tear outs in the wood, in the grain. Yeah, that's one of the things I found with Morta anyway.
Trevor, can you tell us a story maybe about like something you learned from one of your mentors about, you know, making your pipes, or your own personal aha, just goofing around in your shop kind of thing?
One of my personal ahas comes from making one of my favorite styles to make is a Bing Crosby pencil shank. And usually those pipes have a reverse tenon with a stainless steel tubing going through it. What I learned from trying to make one of these pipes and bungling it is when you're drilling that draft hole, one of the first things you should do is insert the stainless steel rod through it before you do any turning. Insert the stainless steel rod because it will hold the shank stable, and briar can have a tendency to distort a little bit when you're turning it down to such a small diameter to a pencil shank, and you'll lose all the strength of the surrounding wood if you turn the shank down to that pencil diameter and then try to insert that steel rod, you're probably going to break the shank. Right? You guys know what I'm talking about with the pencil shank bings?
Right.
I know the type of pipe. I've never made one.
Yeah. And, having a machinist lathe really helps with that for precision to get that taper. But yeah, anytime you're going to do any kind of very thin shanked pipe, I always recommend going with a reverse tenon. So you're not sacrificing any strength. Actually, you're increasing the strength. Trying to do a mortise and tenon join on a shank that's so thin, eventually you're going to break that mortise, or your customer is going to. So when you're going thin, go with a reverse tenon.
So by reverse tenon, you mean the shank goes into the stem rather than the stem going into the shank?
Yes, that's right. So this pipe I'm working on for a lady in Montana right now. That's a reverse tenon. And the reason I used it here is because I had to, in order to get this piece of deer antler on, I had to turn a 1/2-inch peg down in order from the briar to insert this on top of. And from a pipe I've made in the past, I found if I don't reinforce that peg with the stainless steel, what I've actually done is I've created a score where the alternative material meets the briar, and that glue point there is a weak spot. So this tenon goes all the way, maybe a 1/4 inch from the chamber. It stops. So I've got a good strong shank now that I haven't pre-scored with the bottom of that peg. So yeah, I've had a customer drop a pipe on grass and break it.
Ouch.
Right where the alternative material meets the briar, it broke. So live and learn. I fixed his pipe for free, and I don't create anything with weak unions like that anymore.
Yeah. Bud threw up a comment, and I'm going to ask Bud to turn his mic on because I think this deserves your own voice on it to talk about his. He says he just loves all the pipes in his collection. Do you have a favorite, Bud? What have I done? Have I killed Bud?
Or smoke all the time. And of course, my internet.
There we go. Of course. Just when I ask you a question, your internet goes.
Stable.
Yeah. Bud talking?
We're waiting for Bud. I think Bud got froze there. Froze his internet.
Yeah.
So I was going to try to lead you guys into talking about, so you shared with us that you love those pencil thin bings.
Yeah.
Do you have any other favorites in the shapes that you make?
I love doing bent billiards with some nice banding. Devil ants, I really like creating those. But most of all, I think just doing free hands and following the grain, and leaving skin on it as I can. So around the chamber, those are the things I really enjoy. And I think it's, there's a concept called flow that a lot of artists talk about, right? Makers. When you're making something and you're not even thinking anymore, you're just seeing and moving. and it's a very happy place to be. And those freehand pipes, that's what does it for me. There's no rule.
So when you're making a freehand, at what point do you know what the final shape is going to be?
I don't. Right up until the final sanding is done, and sometimes I'll be everything be sanded to 400 or whatever, and I'll be like, no, I'm going to change that right there. You know, when you think you're done and you see something, oh, maybe if I put a channel along this piece of grain here, I can really make it, you know. And you know, I've made a couple pipes for myself that 2 years after I'd finished it, I'd modified it because I see something I could do a bit better.
Do you ever start off with like, I'm going to make a tomato, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, this is an egg. Sorry.
You know,
Yes.
yeah. And usually in my earlier days, not that I've been doing this for, you know,
I'm seeing all different kinds of.
sometimes I'll start with one shape in mind, but then there'll
Those
be
people in the background. This guy's wife is walking around in the background. I can see that.
there would be a flaw, right? And now I leave the flaws, but in my earlier days, I'd be like, well, I'm going to chase this pit and see if this tomato now becomes a billiard, right? But no, you know, for the most part, I have a plan in place before I start. And if something happens, I've had tool accidents where I tore a chunk out of the rim of a chamber, so it ended up being a shorter chambered pipe or something. But for the most part, when I start, I have an idea in mind and I stick with it.
Well, guys,
Have
don't
you
let
ever
me
made
hog
any
the-
giant pipes?
Yeah, I did a Magnum billiard for a gentleman in New Brunswick, and you'll see it there if you go into Thistle Pipes. You'll go under billiards. You'll find a giant Magnum with my fist around the shank. Yeah, and I did a pretty cool split stem with that too. A little bit of green ebonite and briar. I really enjoy doing split stems. If anybody knows what I'm talking about? No?
Yeah, talk
Nope.
about it, man.
Yes, actually, I have a beautiful Mastro Beraldi, which has split stem, acrylic, and briar.
Yeah. So it's when you combine several materials into a stem, but they are not stacked vertically. They're not like rings around a central axis. It's like tubes inside of tubes. If you know if that makes any sense at all. Do I have an example around here? Can I display like a picture on here? Is that possible?
I don't know. I know I can on a
Well, with the
laptop, but
share
I don't know if you can on the phone or not.
Yeah, you can't present, hey?
Do you have something to say? Do you have a share screen function? Sometimes if you just tap with your finger on the glass on your phone, it'll bring up some additional control there.
Yeah, if you'll give me a couple of minutes, I'll go inside quickly and bring my Mastro Beraldi with the split stem. I'll be right back.
Yeah, good idea. I'm going to do a quick peek in here. See if I can find one. Here we go. It's a split stem. Now, can I share this? Share. More options.
Do you have, it might even be in green, a green button that says share screen.
Yeah, I'm going to look here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this before it gets annoying for everybody. Share this. Only the host can share in this meeting.
I have a button on my iPad and it says share content, and I have no clue what it is. Maybe this is a point.
Yeah, it says share content, but only the host can share the content.
I just clicked the button. You should be able to do it now.
Okay, get back here. Photos box website, Dropbox, photos. Access my photos.
We're making history here today, guys.
We're working this out. We're figuring it out.
This is going to be the new way that all pipe clubs are run from now on, just on share screen.
This is hating stuff right now. Save photo. Now this should work. Okay. All right. Share content. There. Done. You guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Them.
was it the button share content or what is it?
Share content.
I
David
like
just
that a lot.
to allow us to do it. Share content. You go to your photos, save whatever photos you want into your photo gallery, and you just go to that. And pick what you-
Perfect.
So this is the Magnum billiard I did. It's huge. If you go into Thistle Pipes, you'll see a post about it. Of it. But that's a split stem. A little tricky to do them. The joins between the material has to be perfect for seamless joinery. And so you can do these layers. You can do a layer of brass, a layer of wood, a layer of acrylic, and have it all shine through when you do your shaping. But it's really satisfying when you're doing a split stem and you're getting down to the bottom material and how things just kind of appear. That makes it, you see these, you're grinding through one material to the next, and you see, your idea taking shape in front of you. And it's a bit scary too, because if there's any airspace between the materials, it's just ruined. It looks like crap. But yeah, I really enjoy doing those.
Yeah, I see the design similar to what I have. You see, this is Mastroberaldi. You see, it
Yeah,
has the briar here closer to the shank, and then
Yeah.
acrylic. And I like how they come together.
Yeah, it's really nice with a kind of paneled shank. Try that. Square shank. Yeah. So you guys talk about your pipe collections. I'm a pipe maker that doesn't have really any high-end pipes. Like I said, money, right? Maybe one day when my kids are older, I'll have a little disposable income. But some of my favorite pipes, like I look for the garage sales and yard sales and stuff. Some of my favorite pipes were cheapies. And I yet to find a pipe that smokes better than a good cob.
Yeah, the most expensive pipe I have in my collection, I commissioned from Tim Thorpe, which is a pipe maker from New Jersey. He made a beautiful pipe for me, exactly the way I wanted, and that's most expensive pipe I have.
Yeah.
And even that one is not really expensive. I only paid $250 for that.
Not bad. No, that's where most of my best sellers are in the 200 to 250 range.
Yeah.
It seems to be where people are most comfortable.
Yeah. And also, I want to comment on your untraditional approach. Well, as long as there are some people who like your pipe, it means you're doing something right. There is no pipe that everybody will like. Different people have different tastes. And there is a great Spanish saying, cada loco con su tema, which means basically everybody is crazy in their own way. And that explains it all.
Yeah.
Dimitri, can you write that on our Facebook group page? I think that should be our motto, our club motto. Seriously, if you have a minute later today, just go type that into our Facebook page. I really want to remember that.
Everybody's crazy way. Yeah. Yep.
Crazy, that's what makes life interesting.
That's right.
Well, as a mutton chop piper, another YouTuber and one of the most famous, says, until you have 25 pipes, you are not a pipe collector.
Yeah.
We'll talk after the 25 pipes.
I think once you pass 30, then you're a pipe addict. which is, I don't know.
Yeah, I have over 100 pipes, but I don't consider myself pipe collector. I'm a pipe smoker. I smoke all my pipes.
Just on your shelf collecting dust.
I smoke them all, some more often. And again, one of my favorite pipes, I bought it unfinished Savinelli. It had float in the wood filled with the paste. I bought it for $30 and I wouldn't trade it for $200 pipe because I love it. It smokes so well. It's one of my 5 top favorite pipes.
Yeah. Is anybody here
Patrick's like winging some really nice pipe there, brother. Can you show us that?
Oh yeah, this is a Viking carved meerschaum that I bought from a carver in Turkey.
A little bit closer to the center of your phone there. There we go.
Yeah, also a favorite meerschaum pipe shape of our club president. He has a collection of these Viking pipes as well.
I was just noticing, I'm like, okay, that's a...
Yeah, Luke Arbon, president of New York Pipe Club. He is a big fan of everything Viking. He is fan of a Viking football team. He has few Viking meerschaum pipes.
And I'm smoking McLaren's H&H Old Dark Fired in this Viking pipe at the moment.
He's going to go out and conquer a village soon.
I'm smoking Balkan Supreme 2017.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm really, really missing McClellan.
As we all are.
Oh. You know, I Four Oaks Syrian. That was my favorite blend.
Yeah, Four Oaks Syrian is amazing. Unfortunately, I don't have any left. I still have some Rose of Latakia, a few tins of Rose of Latakia with the Syrian Latakia, which is also incredible. And well, Patrick knows I have like 90 something tins of McClellan tobaccos, and I have few pounds of both McClellan tobacco.
You're the one that got it all.
I'm
Yep.
smoking
Well, one of Nat Sherman house blends, Nat Sherman 510, was actually made by McClellan. That was McClellan 5120 Fragrance, Virginia. And when McClellan went out of business, I bought 6 pounds of that from Nat Sherman. Most people didn't know what it was. That's why they were not buying it.
I think my other favorite blend is Old Dog. But they stopped making that before they went out of business. But I got it.
That's what everybody in South Africa is smoking right now, but they're real dogs, not.
You know, don't knock it till you try it, right?
The poor guys down there cannot get tobacco. So
it's what a world we live in, man.
What's the world coming to?
Like,
I have to take you
a
out of the
collective, moan on David's behalf every week when he shows up and has no tobacco.
God, I don't.
I'm prepared for any kind of disaster. I have enough tobacco stocked for the rest of my life.
Hey, David, let that be a lesson to you, sir. After this is over, you need to sit at Dimitri's right knee and learn the art of hoarding.
I wish I had the money. By the time I have the money, all the great tobaccos are going to be gone. You know, that's the way I feel about it. With the, several governments waging a war on high-end tobacco. These guys are not the enemy. You know, if I'm really worried about in the States, if they ban online sales of tobacco, what it's going to do to the industry. For makers.
And actually big tobacco companies are enemies of premium tobacco business. They're enemies of pipe tobacco and premium cigars.
They love the regulation.
Yeah, all those regulations, they don't hurt them at all. For them, it's peanuts, but it
Yeah.
hurts small production, it hurts premium cigars, and it hurts premium pipe tobacco.
Yeah, McBaron's going to move to Cuba and just throw it there. I'm going to suggest that to Pear just in case, you know.
Damn it! I thought you were serious.
They've got a good climate for tobacco. I understand.
I have to take you out of the tobacco and close the camp because I have a lady that wants my attention. He always barking when I'm next to. He always needs some petting. Well, that's a problem. We always talk about Greece, about the regulations. If you want to smoke, we have close to 24 companies, 3 companies that makes 24 different blends. For me, the only tobacco that you can smoke in Italy is that McBaron Classic Loose Cut, and thanks God it's vanilla. Another one that we have is the Wolf Way. It takes Virginia from the Maryland of the United States. Is made from Turkey, and it has her own Oriental Basma from Xanthi. In some McClelland blends has used Basma from Xanthi. If you have ever smoked it, it has the taste of cinnamon and the aroma of the roses. It's magnificent. If you come in Greece, try to look it.
There's so many blends, you know. So many things I want to try.
I haven't. I'm a 3 years pipe smoker. I haven't. When I started smoking, McClelland just poof disappeared. I barely find some blends and smoke some Davidoffs. Yeah.
Well, as amateur tobacco blending, I found that there are some great tobaccos still grown in Europe and Asia. Amazing oriental tobaccos from Greece, from Turkey, from Bulgaria. And I found a very flavorful hybrid called semi-oriental from Moldova.
You know, I most of the tobacco I get and cigars, I'm very fortunate that I don't pay for it. Every once a month I host the Edmonton Pipe and Cigar Club in my garage, which is especially appreciated during the winter months where it gets to minus 30 here, 30 Celsius. And yeah, these guys are so good to me. Every get together, I'm usually left with a half a dozen sticks and a jar or two of tobacco. So I haven't had to buy any in 3 years. And it allows me to get a bit of a variety too.
Yeah, we are just experimenting in our group here with a pipe swap kind of setup, which also should include tobacco swap. I know I didn't think about it last week, but I just sort of turned last week's meeting into an experiment of the pipe swap. Bring some pipes you want to swap out or sell, find a new home for, whatever. So next time, gentlemen, what do you think we bring some tobacco that we might want to swap out with somebody?
Well, I have a few tins of aromatic McClelland tobaccos, which I'll be happy to trade for non-aromatic.
There we go. So next month when we do the pipe swap Saturday, I'll remind everybody, bring some stuff that you want to trade out, a little bit of extra, and see what you get that's new.
Might be interesting to do a swap between some of the makers for their own.
We have more makers in the club, guys. We're approaching 500 members, which is blowing my mind entirely. But I think within the group as a whole, we've got a variety of different talent. We'll encourage everybody to, and we have some restorers. We've got some We've got some collector. I'm trying to think of another word. Merchants.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to grow. It's going to grow into something.
Mm-hmm.
Fellas, any other questions for Trevor?
Do you make any filter pipes, or is it a no-go for you?
Any what pipes? Sorry.
Filter with a filter.
Future pipes.
Filter.
I'm
Like
sorry.
Filter.
Filtered.
Yes.
Oh, filter. Why was that so difficult for me? I'm sorry.
Because Trevor's Canadian. You got to speak up for him, guys.
Speak up, eh? Filter. I haven't done any. No one's ever asked me to. But really, it's just drilling a deeper mortise. So, or using a tenon material that will accept diameters that will accept a filter. So it's an easy thing to do. But no, I haven't. Not to say I won't. I don't like filtered pipes myself. So yeah, I haven't done it. I recently did an interview for a guy's podcast who's doing his master's thesis on makers, so artisans, and why they make and how, and the process. And he asked me what's the main reason I make pipes. I told him to me it's nostalgia. It's a preservation of something that's masculine in a world that seems to label masculinity as poisonous. So trying not to get into politics here, but here we go. And to me it's trying to preserve something that is a tradition, and not all traditions are bad, and this is one of the ones that are worthwhile. And there are lots of young pipe makers like me that are going to carry this craft forward.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It would be a very, I don't know. Pipe smoking harkens back to a time when people sat and contemplated life, and they enjoyed the ritual of it. And I think as a society, globally, we're doing less of that. Right? A lot of people that are in a hurry to talk, and no one's really in a hurry to think. So, and I think I always think that pipe smoking, what is it Einstein said? It contributes to rational judgment in all things in life.
Yeah, I find that both pipe and cigar smoking is a good way to take a little break from everyday life. Like last night, I came outside, was sitting at night in my backyard with a glass of zombie and a cigar, and was looking at the stars and enjoying the smoke.
Yeah, and not thinking about anything. Like I find with me, when I smoke, it's the things I think about are reminiscing the past, good times,
Yeah, we have an honorary member of New York Pipe Club. She doesn't smoke herself. She's actually a nurse in cardiology. Her father, who's a doctor, he's a big pipe smoker.
Yeah.
He lives in Japan, and in his waiting room, there are pipes on the wall. She showed us the picture. She said she has mixed feeling about it. She said smoking is not bad, but on the other side, seeing how it affects people, how it reduces stress, she doesn't find it that it's really bad for you.
I smoke my pipe a lot when I'm working. So I'm working in the field, and I'm walking through a construction site, and I see things aren't going the way I want them to, when the contractors aren't behaving the way I want them to. And I smoke my pipe, and it makes me a more agreeable person. When I find myself irritated, a pipe, contributes to productive conversations. Keeps the anger down. But yeah, I pity anyone who can't smoke while they work.
Yeah, when you have pipe in your mouth, it prevents you from saying the wrong things at the wrong time.
Right. You think for a second, and someone walks up to me on a site and says, "Trevor, is everything okay?" I'll keep that pipe in my mouth for a couple seconds before I say anything. Right?
You can use it as a pointer,
Yes, this is true. I do that. Yeah. And yeah, so I do find that in society these days, masculinity is becoming less cool, and this is my way of grasping.
Hey, Trevor, Saeed has a question, and I'm gonna see if I can get him to pop his mic on.
I think he's trying. Something's happening.
Hi there, I'm Saeed. Maybe you know me, I'm from Iran. I want to ask one question. As you know, right now, pipe products are very expensive in my country. We have a problem with pipe, even with corn cob. All of corn cob and all of the normal pipe, not high expensive pipe or high quality pipe. After some months or maybe a few years, a stem is broken and you can't use a stem anymore. So I thinking maybe we could use the pen tube or replace with pen tube, use a pen with some scratching, making something look like this. Is it okay or it's bad thing for health or maybe it's heat effect on plastic the tube? Can you, is it okay or it's bad thing?
I can't see having some ingenuity and making yourself a stem. I can't comment on the pen plastic being any more toxic than the acrylic or the ebonite that's used. And the way I look at it, and I'm no chemist, I'm no scientist, I can't imagine you're getting that much heat in that plastic piece that you're getting anything volatilizing out of it.
Yeah, well, most of those pens are just clear acrylic. It's exactly same acrylic goes into pipe stems. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
And by education, I am a chemist.
Yo, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't do well in chemistry. Not at all. I did 3 chemistry classes in university, and I did them all twice. Yeah, it wasn't my thing. But yeah, I can't see any issue with that. Or you could get your stem replaced. Who was that? What was that last? What was his name again? Sorry.
Saeed.
Saeed? Yeah. You could get your stem replaced.
A stem replace is a big, huge problem in my country. As you may know, I'm from Iran, and everything is limited to us because of some problem the country we have. Or it's not good thing. We can't buy something from eBay, something from Amazon, even AliExpress or Alibaba. We are so limited.
Yeah, I always find that Iran is one of most interesting and controversial countries. Most progressive and free-thinking population with the most conservative government.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, man. I'm very. It's not lost to me how lucky I am to be a Canadian.
Yes, you are so lucky.
I am extremely lucky, and you don't have to look too far in the news to see other countries that don't have the wealth of freedom that we have. Now anyway.
Trevor, I have a question about construction. What are your thoughts on chamber diameter? For instance, what range of diameters do you bore? And also the draft hole, are you conventional 4mm, or are you do you vary from that?
So when I first started, I was doing 1/8 inch draft holes. That was wrong. That was too small and too easily plugged. Now I am using 3/32, which in millimeters, I don't know what that is. Is that 4 mil? I don't really know. I'm Canadian. Well, that's not true. Because if I was using the our normal measuring systems, I guess I'd be doing everything in millimeters, wouldn't I? 5/32. 1 minute. Yeah.
Well, you can tell it in millimeters. I will translate for others. Well, 1 inch is approximately 251 millimeters.
5/32 is 4 millimeters. I just measured it.
3.96875.
Yeah. So that's what I use. And for my chamber diameters, I go all the way up to 1 inch. So as small as 5/8 for pocket pipes and stuff like that, right? Small stuff. But I go up to 1 inch, and I never have less than 1/4 inch thick walls. Right? Any thinner than that, you're risking burnout. I have a couple different, elliptical shaped bottoms and round shaped, depending on the bend of the pipe. If you're doing bent pipes, it's nice to have a conical bowl rather than a round bottom. Straight pipe the other way. Pickaxes, it's nice when you have a dramatic taper from the top of the bowl to the bottom of the bowl, the outside diameter. It's nice to have a conical shaped chamber.
I have never paid too much attention to that, but I have one. It's a Nording freehand that's a conical drill, and it smokes differently from any other pipe I have.
Yeah. I find when you have a conical bowl, this is a Nording I have here, but it's a round. Hold on. Are you? This is one of my Nordings. Yeah, it's round, but I do find it gets easy to over tamp when you have a conical.
Yeah, I find that conical bore or like tapered bore works much better on larger pipes with a larger tobacco chamber. It doesn't work so well on a small tobacco chamber.
Yeah, I would imagine that if you have a large, like a 1 inch tobacco chamber with a round bottom, you're getting the draft hole coming into a small portion of that bottom, right? And the airflow, exactly. Yeah, the airflow doesn't come straight through all of the tobacco. It comes through a certain, like the part close to the back.
And then it can be it can get easily plugged by small pieces of tobacco and by tar buildup.
Yeah, definitely. You're getting a more consistent pull of air through all of the tobacco in a conical bowl.
Trevor, I wonder if I can ask you a question about the business of being a pipe maker. Is that cool with you?
Sure. Yeah.
So how did you start? How did you start actually saying, well, I'm going to move from making a few pipes to selling some pipes?
It kind of happened by accident. So I started making for my own interest. And then I had a person here and there ask me if they could buy one. And so, of course, when you start getting customers, then you start putting more care into your work. Yeah, I don't really, it just kind of took off. There was no real plan. I don't have a business license or anything. I don't, like I think I'm allowed to make like $20,000 or $30,000 without having to have a business license. Right in Canada, 30,000 a year. I'm not there, but I think that as my children get older and become less dependent on me, I'll be devoting more time to this. Hopefully, spreading my name a bit more, learning. from greater pipe makers than I, and honing the craft. And I'm hoping that in 20 years time, if our governments haven't completely destroyed the industry, it'll be a good supplement to my income, to my retirement. And maybe I'll make an actual real business out of it. And I'm trying to get my my wife interested in leather making to complement this. So bags and rolls and tobacco pouches and things like that. But yeah, it was all a very fortuitous mistake.
Do you go to pipe shows? Do you show up?
I would love to. I just can't get the time away from work. I don't have the funds for tickets. You know, I don't feel comfortable leaving my wife with, you know, doing all the work for their 3 children. Especially one of my children has some moderate special needs. She has severe apraxia of speech and motor skill delays, and she might be on the autism spectrum. So yeah, my career and family commitments keep me from traveling much. I'm actually planning to go to the Chicago Pipe Show, and that was canceled.
Yeah, a lot of us were as well. But I'd love to see you there next year, man, if you show up. And
yeah, and there's a lot of great pipe makers I'd love to meet there. And my buddy Barnes has gone down many years. And he's always after me to go with him. And I was actually gonna seriously considering it this year. And there goes that. Right. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. How old are your children?
I have a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and an 11-year-old.
Oh.
Right. So, and mom's a stay-at-home mom, and she works harder than I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, I really do. I mean, you know, maybe I can teach my son. Right. Maybe he'll show some interest, and I can teach him, and he can move on with it after I'm gone. Right. And maybe not. Either way, he'll have a good appreciation for woodwork.
I think it has a great great ring to it, guys. Thistle and Son.
Yeah.
Don't you think? That's a dynasty of pipe makers right there in the making.
Yeah. It's like very, very classy, traditional looking name.
Very, very. Yeah, exactly. You heard it here first. You heard it here first, folks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just you know, talking with a few other pipe makers about the future of pipe making and how, God, we don't know where it's going to go. You know, I hope we have people that'll still buy, because, you know, pipe smoking is one of those things that if you can't get the tobacco you want, you're going to quit. Right.
We don't be so pessimistic about it. You know, that wherever there's an opportunity for business, somebody will figure out how to get around the restrictions and market, you know, in one way, assuming, and this is admittedly a big assumption, assuming that they have an eye to quality. Yeah. Then that company will benefit from having fewer companies, fewer competition. Because they'll tap into the entire marketplace and make sure everybody gets tobacco.
Yeah, but overall it's true. If you don't have tobacco, pipe is just a piece of wood. It's totally useless.
Yeah, and then we'll be, you know what we called after that? South Africans. That's what.
Price point may change a bit though if it goes that way. That's the other thing for tobacco.
Yeah, I would really hate to be doing this for years and then all of a sudden there's no market, you know? And it's one of those things too, like pipe smoking, what a lot of the anti-tobacco crowd fail to understand, that it's not an addiction we're feeding here. Some of us are, I'm sure, but the majority of the pipe smokers that I know, we don't smoke a pipe because we have an itch for nicotine. You know, you can get it if you want to satisfy a nicotine urge. A cigarette is much more efficient.
Yeah, but most regulations made on assumption that all tobacco is the same, no matter in what form it comes.
It's not the same at all, and I wish there was some way that that we could provide some education about that. Like I consider, you know, pipe smokers are to tobacco what Scotch connoisseurs are to alcohol. Or wine.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
now actually we have a few allies on our side. I'm sure you heard of Rocky Patel, head of Rocky Patel Cigars, largest cigar company in the United States. He's actually a professional lawyer. He had successful practice in California. He was celebrities lawyer, and he's fighting it. He's fighting it big time.
Yeah, I remember seeing some interviews from him on YouTube. Yeah, it really is an attack on a culture. You know, I always say to people who are, you know, we argue about tobacco, and it's like growing up in Canada where we have some really cold winters. Like I ask people, when have you ever seen a guy huddled against a building in high winds and 30 below temperatures, smoking a pipe? Right? We're not like, if the weather's not good and I don't have opportunity, oh well.
Exactly. By the way, there is some great tobacco coming from Canada. I use some Canadian Virginia in some of my blends. It's delicious.
Okay. Yeah,
I think Per Jensen said that a majority of their Virginias are coming from Canada now, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's
we're approaching the 10-minute mark here. Not shoving anybody out yet. Don't rush off or get upset. But I just want to make sure everybody's, you know, keeping track of the time, because the last thing I want is for you guys to get in trouble with your wives and family. And so then I won't see you for a month, and I'll be like, Tim, what happened? You go, oh, dude, you got me in so much trouble.
Ironically enough, I was just getting ready to tell you all, it was wonderful meeting you, Mr. Thistle.
Thank you very much. You as well.
Your insight helps me, but I do got to get out of here. Good seeing you guys again.
Kerry, good to see you, man. Have a great week.
As soon as you started talking about this, like right after, my wife texted me, "Are you done yet?" And then you said that.
Cool.
So, guys, I'm hoping I was some help. I'm not the most eloquent person in the world, but I hope I was able to give you my perspective on pipes and pipe making. I know there are other pipe makers that would speak much more technically than I do. That's not
speaking for myself. I really loved what you shared with us today, man. Thank you for
you.
showing us your workshop.
One last question, if
Go
I
for
can.
it, Nick. Yeah, no worries. You're not in a hurry.
I'm sorry, but I will take you. I heard a lot about Canada, and I need to ask it. I have this need. So, except to collect pipes, one of my hobbies is to collect comics. So, I want to ask a question. If I tell you the name Eze Geze and Captain Mark, does this bring you something in your mind?
Who and Captain Mark?
Who and Captain Mark? Well, there's the funny part. In Italy and Greece, Eze Geze was three Italian comic creators that creates two comics, Blake and Captain Mark.
Huh.
One of my plans is to go on Canada and walk at the Toronto and at the big lake of Ontario, because I grew up with the stories of the Captain Mark that these three Italian comics creates. Captain Mark was a hunter that grew up by Indians, and it talks about the war that they did to gained their freedom against the English Empire.
Oh,
So
okay.
the funny part that's every people that I meet from the Canada, they don't know that's in Italian, at Italy, three comics creator teach the Europeans about the Canadian history.
That's interesting. I never knew about that.
And
Yeah.
I grew up with a dream to go to Ontario and work at the steps of the Captain Mark.
That's cool. We never think of the places we live holding a lot of significance to other people for reasons we have no idea about. You know?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Tom, I can tell you, here in New York, at least, I'm a big fan of the band, formerly the band Rush.
Oh
Great
yeah,
Canadian band.
Neil Peart.
Yeah, agreed, agreed.
I'm a
It
big
was
Rush fan.
amazing.
Yeah, and when I heard that Neil had passed, it was a lot of mixed emotions because
Likewise.
I've never seen them live and always wanted to, and I knew that was gone now.
Well, luckily here in New York, I've had an opportunity to see them in almost all the venues in New York. I saw them at the Garden, Nassau Coliseum, Jones Beach, but I never
Yeah.
saw them when they did the R40, which was their last tour that they did at the Prudential Center over in New Jersey.
Yeah. I would love to have seen them. But you know what? All good things must come to an end, I suppose. Neil had a tough life too. You know, he lost his wife and his only daughter there a few years back.
I can see when Trevor comes back, we're going to have to do a whole show on rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
I agree.
I am prone to going off on tangents, so sometimes I need to be reeled in. Yeah.
Tim, you were saying?
No, I was going to say that, the Neil Peart's story, it's amazing how anybody could come back from that kind of a tragedy and make music again. And the band Rush, it just loaded with talent. I mean, Geddy Lee is one of the most amazing bass players I've ever seen. And, Alex, he's an underrated guitarist. These guys, their music is so complex. You listen to a song like La Villa Strangiato, and it's just, oh my God, there's so many different changes in the music. These guys really, they have an amazing sound. They've been together for 40 years, and what a contribution, to progressive rock and roll. I mean, wow, one of my favorite bands. Absolutely.
Agreed. And, Geddy actually said for him playing the bass, one of his idols was the late Chris Squire from Yes.
Oh yeah, love Yes. Chris, I'm a big prog rock fan, so if anybody wants to dialogue about that sometime, let me know.
Yeah, prog rock and pipes.
and that's the name of your new YouTube channel, Trevor.
P&P.
All right.
And also a lot of people in tobacco business and cigar business and pipe business are actually musicians.
Yeah.
Like Avo Uvizian was a great musician and composer. My friend Tim Thorpe, pipe maker, he plays guitar. My friend Chris McGrath is professional guitar player. Mr. Sherman, Joel Sherman, son of Nat Sherman, drummer. Michael Herklatz, vice president of Nat Sherman now. He's a professional drummer.
I play air guitar.
Well, fellas, I'm going to get us on out of here.
All right, guys.
Let me give you a sense of the schedule coming up. So next weekend here in the States, it's, our Independence Day. So I won't be here, but Bart is going to keep the meeting going. And so if you're here in the States and you want to show up, you're not going to get in trouble. We're not going to report you. But for everybody who's like in the UK or the EU out there, or Iran, I don't want to leave you out. Bart will be here, and so there will be a meeting. I don't know what he's got planned, if he has another, sit and jaw kind of session, or if he's got a speaker. I'll defer to him. The following week, which would be, I believe, the 11th, yeah, the 11th. We have Jeremy Reeves from Cornell and Deal is going to be here, talk to us about putting
Nice.
together his blends and showing us a little bit out of his back door to his farm.
Cool.
And then the week after that, we have John David, and now I can't remember his last name, from the Country Squire. And he's going to be here talking about his blending technique and also about owning one of the, in the South, one of the longest running brick and mortar pipe shops, the Country Squire. He bought it and now it's in its 50th anniversary. So, so yeah, so that's what we got coming up.
Great.
Just so you know.
Great.
Fun.
So I want to say thank you to everybody. Once again, it's so cool to hang out with you guys. Thank you for being here.
Always.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good one.
Thank you, Trevor.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.